James, an impressive start to the season in round one.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to win. I think that was the what we were all after, was a win, and there's no doubt if you keep winning, the footy clubs are a happier place to be. So it also gave the guys, I think, a little bit of confidence in what we've been doing over the pre-season to get a win like that.
And everyone's done as instructed and kept everything nice and low key since?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, look, we're trying to build ourselves from 14th last year and work our way up the ladder, and the only way you do that is by winning games of football back to back and winning consistently. So, like I said in the press conference after the game, we've got a very tough game in Sydney this week, and we need to be at our best to compete with the Sydney side that's very tough to beat.
James, did Joe Watson speak to you before he tried to orchestrate that sit down before the first bounce?
Joe and I spoke, we've spoken about the issue, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, and about more so about the passion that the players have about the way the rules come about and the fact that they're concerned of what it will do to their careers.
So you gave them the all clear to do it?
The all clear to do what?
To propose a sit down before the first bounce?
I haven't given anyone the all clear to do anything, but I think what I think this has really been taken out of context, out of perspective in what happened, and that what happened is Joe went to his union in a meeting, a private meeting, and had a discussion about the rule. And the rule was discussed, and the most disappointing part for me is that the private discussion with Joe amongst his peers ends up on the pages of the Herald Sun. And I think that's the disappointing part, because if a player can't openly air his concerns in that fashion, he didn't go to the papers, didn't go to the press, then that's a little bit worrying.
James, do you think the other worrying thing is that players think they have to resort to this kind of, I guess, protest on field? Do you think there should have been a bit more consultation about the rule?
I'm not sure. I wasn't around. I wasn't coaching. I wasn't in the AFL sort of ranks when this rule was proposed or the consultation process went about. But the players are concerned. There's no doubt. It's not just Joe that's concerned. The majority of players are concerned with the rule. So if the players are concerned, Mick Malthouse is concerned, one of the great coaches of all time who's seen everything happen in the game, then I think that the AFL should listen to that.
When you say they should listen to it, what do you think they can do now?
Well, I think they have listened. I think they have sat down with different parties, and they've sat down with Joe and talked about it, sat down with other coaches and talked about it. I think the rule will run its course throughout the year and then be reviewed at the end of the year.
Do you expect it will last the season?
I can't see it changing. I'm not sure of any rule that's changed mid-year so far.
James, do you heard any sort of unsolicited feedback from players to you saying to you what sort of differences there've been in the lead up to this year compared to the lead up in previous years? I'm saying, has anyone come to you with players and said, this has been so different, or this has been harder, or we like this better, or any of those sorts of things?
In terms of our pre-season, or
yes, and the lead up to just the whole approach to
not so much unsolicited. I think that every year that the players talk about the pre-season and how whether they've enjoyed it or whether they haven't enjoyed it, and I don't think any player really enjoys pre-season. But the one thing that the players are keen on is they were keen on playing a proper game of football, which they got to do last weekend. Yeah.
Mark Williams, where is he?
Mark Williams, he's just downstairs actually. So, no, he's in contention this week. I think he's part of the mix. He'll train today, and we'll see. I mean, it'd be very hard to force your way into the side after last week. We didn't have too many players who didn't play that well, but I've said all along, Mark's very close to selection, and we'll see what happens today when we pick the team.
Will there be any obvious changes?
Not really. I think that there's a few guys who are a bit sore, but we'll test them out today and we'll see. But the side won't change a lot, I wouldn't have thought.
How far is Alwyn Davey away?
Alwyn will play this week, whether it's in the seniors or whether it's in the reserves, we'll see. But he's ready to play.
Will he have to wear an arm guard?
I think he will be wearing an arm guard. Yeah, I think that's been approved by the AFL. So yeah, there's no issue with that.
Howlett as well. He was sore after that.
Yeah, Ben was a bit sore, but he had an MRI on his knee on Monday, and that showed that really some insignificant sort of damage to his medial ligament, which won't stop him playing. We'll put him through a pretty rigorous test today, but we're very confident he'll play.
How important is it to consolidate this weekend, James, considering you had such a great result and everyone's talking Bombers again. I mean, obviously that you can't control that, but just to get keep that good feeling around the place.
Oh, it's very important. We want to win this week. It's not so much about the good feeling, because it's about continuing to win 4 points, so you bring yourself up the ladder. We want to win like every other team does, and to win 2 in a row would be great.
Your thoughts on the Swans? They seem to play a bit of a different style under Johnny Longmire than obviously under Paul Roos.
I'm not sure if it's terribly different, but what we know about the Swans, they're a great contested football team. They defend really well, and they've added a bit of pace on the outside, so they transfer the ball well, and they move it quite well out of their half-back line. So, as I said, we know we've got a very tough game this weekend. We know that their contested style of game can really stop you scoring if you don't win that contested footy. And as I said, going to Sydney, no greater test than up against the Swans, who are very well coached, great structured team, and we'll see what happens.
James, Essendon's form on the road hasn't been great in the last couple of years. Is that obviously something you want to try and erase?
Yeah, we're not going to put a lot of focus into whether the game's here or in Sydney or Brisbane or Adelaide, wherever it is. We just want to go and play good football. And I think you get mesmerised with jumping on a plane for 1 hour, spending a night in a hotel, and I'm not sure how that actually affects you playing football. So we're just concentrating on what we're going to do for the 2.5 hours on Saturday, and whether it's in Sydney or not, I don't think should bother us.
Did those trips ever bother you at all in the time?
No, I actually enjoyed getting away out of the house now. I think as you get older, you probably handle that better. But it's It's an hour and a half to Sydney, and you stay in a hotel for a night. I can't see how that affects you playing football.
Has there been a player that's impressed you most? During the NAB Cup and round 1, has there been Kyle Harding in defence?
There's been a few. I mean, Kyle's been terrific. I mean, Stuart Cremeri is an obvious one where he's come from. Rookie list, we didn't know much about him. But then, Joe Watson impressed me on the weekend with the way he played. Dyson Heppel, who would have thought he'd get 20 possessions in his first game of football. So, some good stories there, but it's pretty easy to do it 1 week. It's whether they can do it 2 weeks in a row that we'll be interested to see.
James, concussion's a huge talking point. How many did you get in your playing time?
Look, I haven't counted how many concussions, but significant amount of knocks to the head, and I think that it's one of the great unknowns really in how players react to concussion, and I just think that if a player gets hit in the head, you really want to look after them, because you don't want any ongoing ramifications of getting hit in the head. And I know our doctor, Bruce Reid, it's not going to work very well. That's right. Yeah, who looked after me very well, would never send a player back on the ground if he had any concerns about his head or any other part of his body.
What then do you make of Daniel Bell's situation in Melbourne? You've obviously heard about that.
Yeah, I heard about it briefly this morning. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm just watching him as a player who threw himself in for the ball, and I think it's very sad that a guy's come out of football for any injury. But just listening to him on the radio a little bit, it sounds like he's starting to get the cognitive sort of memory back, and he's actually starting to work better with it. So hopefully for the rest of his life it doesn't affect him.
James, you had a pretty sickening collision over in Perth, and you were out for quite a long time. What do you make of Joel Selwood's situation? I mean, Geelong are talking about perhaps playing him the next week. Do you think that's the right call to do, considering your experience and the current situation?
I have no idea on how Joel Selwood's come up. I mean, you don't know. Sometimes you can get hit and it's really clean, and you come and you get a hard hit and you feel bad, and you get a clean hit and it's okay. Sometimes you get a small hit and you can get blurred vision and things happen. So I don't think anyone can really comment except Geelong or Joel Selwood on what his condition's like, because you don't know unless you're actually the person and the doctors who are around him.
What about Jonathan Brown? You've been there, done that.
Yeah.
He texted you or rang you?
No, I haven't spoken to Jonathan, but it's a sickening injury, wasn't it? It's horrible. And you look at what a tough guy he is, and mentally tough he is, physically tough he is, and it doesn't matter, because a knee in the head can do that to you. And I think everyone in the AFL is concerned for his welfare. It sounds like he'll be okay. Just hope that going forward he'll be okay.
Does it change the way you play? Like, he's 29 years of age. Does it change the way when you come back that you approach him?
At the start it does, yeah. I don't think overall it will. I mean, he knows one way, Jonathan Brown, so I don't think it will change it. It's concerning though when you see an injury like that.
James, post-career, in terms of concussion, do you think there's enough support there for players who do suffer, I guess, brain injuries post AFL career?
Oh, I think there is. I think the clubs. Well, I can only speak for Essendon, and there definitely is at Essendon, and then the AFL Players Association has a lot of processes in place that looks after their players. So I would think there is, but I'm not sure what happens at other clubs either. But I know that players who leave Essendon, let's say not just concussion, but anything that happens medically, you're looked after because of the game to make sure that you come back to normal life fine.
Doctors, you think, might become over-cautious when judging whether a player's concussed or not, when a big issue like that comes up and they're under pressure because of the ramifications that could occur down the track for them, perhaps?
Some might, but I don't think there's a problem if the doctor is a little bit overcautious. I would hope that they're overcautious rather than the other way. I think that you don't see anything straight away from concussion, so I've got no problem with doctors being a little bit overcautious and making sure the player's okay.
On the other side of things, is it difficult for the players because they want to be brave, they don't want to appear to be forcing out, so to speak?
Yep. Sometimes you've got to take it out of the players' hands because the players, they're young men who have a fair bit of testosterone running through their body and want to prove that they're strong and physically able. So there's no doubt you take it out of the players' hands on occasion, and that's why the concussion test is there to make sure that it's not just their decision; it's an objective decision based on whether their brain's working properly or not.